June 2020, a company worth $28 billion vanished. Not slowly, not quietly. In 72 hours, Wirecard went from Germany's most celebrated financial technology company to the biggest corporate fraud in the country's history since the Second World War. The reason? 1.9 billion euros that auditors said existed in bank accounts in the Philippines simply did not exist. They never existed. This is the story of how one company fooled regulators, auditors, and investors for over a decade. How journalists who tried to expose the truth were threatened, surveilled, and even criminally investigated. And how the man believed to have orchestrated the entire scheme vanished from the face of the earth and may now be working for Russian intelligence. This is Red Flag. Wirecard was founded in 1999 in a suburb of Munich, Germany. In the beginning, it was nothing special. A small company processing online payments, mostly for gambling websites and adult entertainment. The kind of business that serious investors ignored. But everything changed when Markus Braun took over as CEO in 2002. Braun was an Austrian with a background in technology consulting. He was quiet, disciplined, and obsessed with data. He wore the same outfit every day, a black turtleneck like a budget Steve Jobs. And he had a vision. He wanted to turn Wirecard into a global payments giant. Under Braun's leadership, Wirecard expanded aggressively. They bought companies across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. They signed deals with Visa and MasterCard. They processed payments for hundreds of thousands of merchants in dozens of countries. By 2018, Wirecard had achieved something extraordinary. It replaced Commerzbank in Germany's DAX 30 index. This is the German equivalent of joining the Dow Jones. Wirecard's market capitalization hit 24 billion euros. It was officially more valuable than Deutsche Bank, the largest bank in Germany. Banks, pension funds, and retail investors poured money into the stock. The German press celebrated Braun as a visionary. Politicians pointed to Wirecard as proof that Germany could compete with Silicon Valley. But behind the polished earnings reports and the soaring stock price, something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. And one journalist on the other side of the world already knew it. The first cracks appeared in 2015. A Financial Times journalist named Dan McCrum was investigating Wirecard's operations in Asia. The company claimed to be processing billions in payments through a network of partner companies in Asia. But when McCrum tried to verify these partners, some appeared to be little more than empty offices or post office boxes. He published his findings in a series of articles that would later become known as the House of Wirecard. The articles raised serious questions about round-tripping transactions and inflated revenues. How did Wirecard respond? Not with transparency. Instead, they launched a campaign to destroy McCrum's credibility. They hired private investigators to follow him. They pressured the Financial Times to retract the stories. In February 2019, Germany's own financial regulator, BaFin, filed a criminal complaint. But not against Wirecard, against the journalists and short sellers who were questioning the company. BaFin actually banned short selling of Wirecard stock for 2 months, making it illegal to bet against the company. Let that sink in. The regulator was protecting the fraud from the people trying to expose it. Meanwhile, Wirecard's auditor, Ernst & Young, signed off on the company's financial statements year after year. The 1.9 billion euros was supposedly sitting in escrow accounts at 2 banks in the Philippines. EY later admitted they never independently verified those bank statements. They accepted screenshots and PDFs from Wirecard. In October 2019, the Financial Times published another devastating investigation showing staff fabricating records. The evidence was damning, but Wirecard's stock barely moved. Analysts kept their buy ratings. The red flags were everywhere, and everyone who mattered chose to look the other way. The end came suddenly. In June 2020, Ernst & Young finally decided to verify the Philippine bank accounts directly. On June 18, 2020, both banks confirmed the same devastating fact. The accounts did not exist. Wirecard's stock dropped 62% in a single trading day, wiping out billions in shareholder value. Markus Braun held an emergency press conference and said there was a prevailing likelihood the money did not exist. On June 22nd, Markus Braun resigned as CEO and was arrested hours later at his home in Vienna. He was charged with fraud, market manipulation, and embezzlement. On June 25th, Wirecard filed for insolvency. In exactly 1 week, $28 billion had evaporated. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. Pension funds managing retirement savings lost enormous amounts of money. But the story gets darker. Jan Marsalek, Wirecard's chief operating officer, was nowhere to be found. Marsalek told colleagues he was flying to the Philippines to investigate the missing money. He never arrived. Instead, he flew to Minsk, Belarus, and then he vanished. Completely. European authorities issued an international arrest warrant. Interpol placed him on their red notice list. Intelligence agencies confirmed what many suspected. Jan Marsalek had ties to Russian intelligence. He had been sharing sensitive information with Russian operatives for years, possibly while still serving as COO. Reports suggest he is living in Russia under the protection of the GRU, Russia's military intelligence service. The man who helped steal 1.9 billion euros is now, apparently, untouchable. The fallout from the Wirecard scandal reshaped German financial regulation. BaFin was overhauled from top to bottom. Ernst & Young faced billions of euros in lawsuits from investors who accused the firm of negligence. How do you audit a company for over a decade and never independently verify 1.9 billion euros? Markus Braun's trial began in Munich in December 2022 and is still ongoing. He faces up to 15 years in prison. And Dan McCrum, the journalist? He wrote a book called Money Men and was awarded multiple prizes. He was vindicated, but it took 5 years and the complete collapse of the company before anyone listened. The Wirecard scandal is a story about what happens when every safeguard in the financial system fails at once. The auditors trusted the company. The regulators trusted the auditors. The investors trusted the regulators. Every system of trust requires verification. Every claim requires evidence. Make sure you can actually see the money. If this story made you think, share it with someone. This is Red Flag. Subscribe for new investigations every Wednesday.